Thank you for joining us for the online marketing webinar series, Social Customer Service. Create professional videos with your iPhone. And we're grateful to have Jason Elkins from 100 Cups Consultant talking to us about creating professional videos with your iPhone. We greatly appreciate the support provided by the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture and the Southern Risk Management Education Center to help make this series possible. To help report the impact of this webinar to these agencies, I'll ask you to complete a very brief online evaluation of the session at the end. The link to the evaluation was included in the email with the link to join the session, and I'll post it again in the chat box for you at the end of the session. A few housekeeping items. Please leave your microphones on mute and your video off during the session. And if you haven't already, if you would locate the chat box and please type your name and location and the business you're with in the chat box to help me record attendance. You may use the chat box at any time during the session to submit a question. And I will be monitoring the chat box for Jason today, and I'll let him know if anyone has a question. I'm recording the session. I plan to post it online in the event that you'd like to view it again or share it with somebody else. Jason, if you don't mind, if you would change to the second slide. We know that people with written goals are significantly more successful than people without. And so I want to encourage you to jot some goals about how you can use this information down during the session. So if there are no questions at this time, we'll dive into create professional videos with your iPhone. And Jason, I see a couple of people have responded here to let us know they're with us. Crystal Davidson with Knob Creek Historical Museum and Vineyard has joined us, and also Peter Palumbo with La Finca Berries in Auburn, Kentucky is with us. So we're glad to have y'all with us today. Jason, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and feel free to pop in with questions as we go along here. This is for you, so I'm going to give you as much information as I can, but I want to make sure that I'm answering specific questions if you have them or if they come up. So I love the idea that Hal mentioned about goals here. One of the things that I'll just mention right off the bat, if you are creating any kind of videos or content for your business, I would highly recommend a content calendar, something that you can look at over a period of time so you know how to back into your content. I spend a lot of time with companies on their digital marketing and figuring out what are the best types of things to post and how do we go about doing that in the business context. We can use these tools all day long and never make any money and never grow a business, and that's seems very counterproductive to me. So I'm always looking at what are the things that are making an impact, and one of the things that will help you do that is by creating a content calendar and then following along with that to see what's actually resonating with your audience. The way that I picture this is that Coca-Cola, for example, knows what they're going to do for Christmas in 2022 already, and it's probably going to have a bear, and we already know the colors are going to be white, black, and red. So those are just some things that I feel like if the large organizations can plan out years ahead, if we're in a marketing department or we're running a small business, we can help plan a month or 2 or 3 ahead of time with our content. So that's just something I wanted to mention right away. And as we're going through this, it'll help you formulate some ideas for your video content as well. The first thing I want to address is what's actually professional today. And the beauty is, as business leaders, business owners, we actually get to define what that looks like for us. The Blair Witch Project has solved the issue of shaky video for business owners. And so as we're building something we need to stop thinking about perfection and start thinking about content, and continuing to put content out to the world that's going to resonate with our audience. So we actually get to define what that looks like for us. Several organizations that I know that are doing video content successfully have a mix of maybe they get some professional video shot for the year with a third-party agency, but a lot of it they can create themselves. And in the past with marketing, if we owned the airwaves, if we could get something up on radio and we owned TV, we could post, we could create a commercial for us, and print, we kind of had it covered. And today, because of how popular social media is and how popular digital marketing is, we could talk to our consumers every day. So instead of thinking about a campaign that maybe has 10 pieces of content through the year, we need to be thinking about how much content can we put out, or how can we connect with our audience on a daily or every other day or every 3 days basis, because that's what we're seeing as far as content marketing is concerned. That's important to connect with those people on a regular basis. If we're not engaged regularly, we become invisible to that audience. So the great thing about this, in that piece of it, is that the definition of professional is on us. If we're a little bit more buttoned up in our marketing, then we can produce those kinds of videos. If we're a little less buttoned up, it makes things a little bit easier for us. And I would love to have all of us at the end of this feel confident that we can go out today and start producing some videos that might help our business. So we define what that looks like. The audience's definition is going to matter also. And the only way that we know what happens ultimately is we'll see the numbers that our audience is kind of consuming this content. So it was really interesting. One of my clients is a organization that does creates buses or builds buses for entertainers, and they ship these people all over the country for concerts. And some of them are professional comedians or professional wrestlers. And there was a picture shot within the context of the business of them having a meeting in the morning, and they discuss everything that's happening within the business, and they may even say a prayer at the end of that. And we didn't realize how important that was for the audience, but the audience told us that they wanted to see more of that content than just beautiful bus pictures. But we never would have known that if we hadn't been trying and testing some different things. So I just want to encourage you that we get to define what quote unquote a professional video is, and that is that's changed quite a bit over the last few years. So consider that as you're going about doing your work with video. Here's a couple things on mindset. One question I always ask my clients is, what do you care about? And those are some types of things that we can start producing. However, today it's more and more important. What does our audience care about? What kind of content do they want to see? I met with somebody earlier this week that has a food grade. Food grade is a strange word, maybe popcorn business. I don't know what other kind of grade popcorn there would be, but she's creating popcorn. She's been doing this. She's actually has a sustainable business right now. And her and I were talking, and she said, I don't think that they care. My audience does not care what I had for lunch. And I said, they probably don't, but they probably do care about the fact that your children are helping sift the raw kernels from the popcorn, and you can create a small video showing them shaking this box that has holes that in the bottom that the kernels fall out. They probably do care that it's almost like a mad scientist as you're testing new flavors, and you can show some of that content, the behind the scenes. Those are things that they might get excited about, is kind of this behind the scenes content. And the way that we went about thinking through what content this would be, Uh, I would give you a football analogy. If you could picture a goalpost on the left and a goalpost on the right, and hash marks all along the middle, picture yourself with your knowledge of your business on the right. You know everything. Picture my knowledge on the left. I don't know anything about your business. So I don't know anything about wine country or creating wine. So we start thinking about that in that context, and maybe the maybe the 10-yard mark would be something about the growing season. And then the next might be something about picking and how that works. And then the next might be crushing and what the process is there, what you're looking for, what makes a good process, a good grape, a good outcome for that. And then the next one may be cooking. And then the next one may be bottling. Like we can think about, I think about this in the football strategy, because the things that we are doing that are maybe mundane, that we don't consider interesting content, are fascinating for our audience, potentially. We like bloopers as consumers. We like behind the scenes. We love documentaries. Let people into the business as it's being built, or the products as they're being made, the behind the scenes, and you can create really unique, fun, interesting videos for your audience. So there's this concept, this football strategy. Again, the way we did this when I was talking to the woman about her popcorn, we talked about the fact that she has to run these through a coder more than once. We talked about the fact that she has this box that her kids help shake the kernels out of, that she made from scratch, because the original one cost $3,000 to shake the popcorn kernels. We talked about the fact that every time there's a new flavor profile, she spends a lot of time. She said she looks like a mad scientist with goggles and the whole thing as she's mixing flavors. We kind of walk through all of these steps, stuff that she's doing already in her business, but was not picturing in the context of this is great content for digital marketing or social media, where it actually would be fantastic content for that. So the reason I put this in the football analogy is we get so tied up in the day-to-day activity, we don't realize that there's content laying around us that we could use for marketing, to create these videos. I want to talk about the consistency of it, and this is really what I see as one of the biggest challenges that we have as business owners, because we can think about content all day long. We still have work to do. We still have to run our businesses or run our operation or organization. I've got a friend that's in the YouTube world. That's where he makes all of his money, creating videos. And his channel, they poke fun at movies, basically. Peter Parker's father picked up the Rubik's Cube, and it was completely messed up. And in the next shot, you see him set it down, and it's completely made. That's a sin. They count off movie sins, basically, is the channel. And they started creating 2 videos a week, which took about 40 man hours. But they started doing this years ago, and they never stopped with the 2 a week. And now they've built kind of this empire where they're making fun of movies, they're making fun of TV shows, they poke fun at music videos, they poke fun at pilots, specific episodes. So they've done this, but they started creating videos and found their groove and never stopped. So this is kind of a consistency thing where I see this happen over and over with entrepreneurs or business owners. They get busy and they stop doing the things that worked, or didn't try something long enough to see if it actually made an impact, a bottom line impact on their business. Or they tried something long enough and made a bottom line impact, and then they stopped doing it for whatever reason. One of the other people that I follow is a musician named Will Kimbrough in Nashville, and he's a fantastic guitar player. And he had a program he called The Lick of the Day, where he would sit with his guitar and he would show you how to play like the intro to Sweet Home Alabama or something on the guitar. Sometimes he would show you something that he wrote. Other times it was just something that you would recognize, a guitar lick that you would recognize. And he called it the lick of the day. He did this every Wednesday for years, and it was shot poor lighting. The sound was just okay. He was usually in a hotel room somewhere. But at the end of these videos, he would say, oh, by the way, I got a cut on Jimmy Buffett's record, or I'm going to be on tour with so-and-so at the end of the month here. The whole thing was a commercial. But I didn't care because he was giving me something of value, something that I perceived of value. So tips about the industry that you're in can be incredibly valuable as well if you're having trouble coming up with content. And if you wanted to ask a specific question about some content that you're looking to do or wanting to do, I'd be happy to kind of discuss that with you on this call if you'd like. Let's talk a little bit more about the mindset when it comes to creating video. I have not met, I've been doing this type of work for a decade. I have not met one person that told me they absolutely loved the way they looked or loved the way they sounded on video, myself included. This is not something that I get excited about get excited about doing, except that I know that there's a ton of value in video. If I hand you a DVD and I hand you a CD, we put more weight immediately on the DVD. We assign more value to that DVD. There's a reason that we view movie stars as kind of untouchable or larger than life. I've seen my clients that are doing a lot of video being recognized and almost have that star power. And they're just a small business company owner locally, but there's some cachet that they have because they're willing to put themselves out to the world in video. And I would just encourage you that I haven't found anybody that likes it, but the power is there. And I would encourage you to go ahead and critique yourself, but don't let that be a stopping point. The idea of I'm going to do something and I'm going to put it out there and not let that paralyze me. This is your encouraging message for today. For your marketing, I'd like to see the fact that we can do this work now easily. We should at least test this and see if that is resonating with our audience. I don't know of a business right now that's not benefiting that's using video. One thing to think about as well, we talked about the football strategy. One thing to think about as well is the concept of documenting versus producing. And what I mean by that is creating something, even documenting your process. As an example, I could have shot a 30-second video of putting the slide deck together, talking about how I'm going to be talking to the Ag Center, and I could have done this in a way that would have highlighted the fact that I do talk to small businesses and people around the country about their marketing. It would have been a great 30-second video clip of me just putting the slides together. That would be an example of documenting something instead of thinking, how do I produce a professional video showing some of the work that I'm doing? I could have documented it versus thinking about it from a production standpoint. I will also tell you that audio quality is key. It will always trump video quality. And what I mean by that, I mentioned the Blair Witch Project, the shaky video concept. We don't have to have completely smooth videos right now. However, people do need to be able to hear us. So there's a couple things to consider with this. You can buy, and Hal, I don't have it added to this deck, but I'll add a couple slides for some iPhone external mics just from Amazon. They're $15, $25, something in that range. You can get a mic that plugs in. It's got a long cord that will help you with kind of the sound quality of your videos. However, if you're not outside, an iPhone, like the quality of an iPhone mic, a native iPhone mic should be just fine for most of what you want to do, or especially if you're doing a kind of a talking head style video. This is what I think about. Like if Chris Stapleton is on stage and I can hear the song, I don't care if he's as big as a rice kernel. Like I'll watch that video if Chris is on stage, even if it's from way, way, way back, if I can hear the music. If I'm right up on him and it's a full video and he's right there, but it's all choppy and the sound is terrible, I'm not going to watch that video. So think about your audio. That is actually more important than the video right now. So the quality, I'm sorry. The audio quality is more important than the video quality at this point. Something to consider, backgrounds and lighting. A professional videographer would cringe if I said that this wasn't the most important thing, but it's certainly something to consider. Being by a window, if you're indoors, that has natural light will really help. Make sure that you've got some lights around if you do want to film, will really help. But I also want to talk about background for a second. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I said, I've got teenagers. This was a few years ago when the kids were still in the house. I said, I've got teenagers. The house is never as clean as I want it. And she was laughing. She said, Jason, all these videos that you're telling me are so great that I shoot. I have one corner in my house. All the videos are shot from the waist up. I couldn't show you the ground because it's got Amazon boxes strewn over. That's where I receive my mail, and my office is kind of a mess. But I found this one corner that has nice light. I put a picture behind me, and that's where I do all my talking head videos. And I laughed, and that even in the process of not having kind of an ideal situation, she still found a way to be able to do a video that resonated really loudly with her audience in the context of kind of finding what that looked like within the office, within the background. So think about that. What's the lighting and the background scenario? And something else to consider, excuse me, is I want you to think about, prior to starting your video, if you can incorporate an establishing shot. If you think of Seinfeld, Cheers, or Friends, each one of those, every episode of those shows, Seinfeld always started with the outside of the apartment. Cheers always started with the Cheers sign out front. And Friends would always start with the Central Perk Cafe or the outside of the apartment to kind of give some context of where you are. So this works well if you can kind of get some establishing shot of where you are at the time. And I'll show you with some of the tools that I'm going to talk about how to do this easily. But that's something to consider as well. And what it does is it just gives the audience some context. So let's say that we're going to shoot a video about grape manufacturing, turning grapes into wine. You wouldn't want to start with a close-up on a vat of grapes before you told people what you were doing, who you were, where you were, maybe showed a little bit of the background if it's appealing, and you'd want to give that context of the establishing shot so that they understood, okay, what am I watching? Where am I? Instead of just kind of right up on the subject immediately. So I hope that helps. And you can do this in a lot of ways. You could have just kind of what I would consider a title card, which may be your logo and some information. You can do this by the actual location you are, with maybe a wide shot before you kind of tighten up on yourself. So we talked about this restaurant, and this again goes back to, you're not going to know what your audience resonates with unless you're willing to try and test some things. So that's something to consider. The fact that you actually did something is more valuable sometimes than what you made. There are organizations that I know that have been doing video for a while, and because they've amassed, even if they were doing 2 short videos a month, that's 100 more pieces of content than their competitors have. So over the course of a year. So it's hard for people to kind of catch up if you are in the lead doing some of this work, some of this digital marketing work. So I would really encourage you to, like, the best time to get started was a few years ago. The next best time is right now for this. It'll be hard for your competitors to catch you if you create a bunch of content. And this is maybe a strange statement, but this is more true today than ever. You're just in a reality show with your friends. You might as well kind of document the process and start talking about it. So I'm going to get into a little bit more details on some of the tools to use based on the information that I've said so far. Is there any specific questions on kind of mindset or direction on that? I'm happy to answer any specific questions. Also, if you're using video successfully within your business, or you've had some success with video in your business, I'd love to know what that is. That's something that we can chat about. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, but if you want to type in the group or let us know, I'm happy to stop and answer those questions. So here are a few websites that will help you with some background content, some information that may make your video stick out a little bit more, kind of give you some context on creating these. I'm going to walk through each one of these websites and these tools. The first one I'd like to talk about is Pixabay. Pixabay is think about it like an iStock photos, but there's pictures and video that you can use in Pixabay that are rights free. The vast majority of it is rights free. So, we get tired of seeing like a doctor's office marketing with, the same 3 people with the stethoscope and the lab coat. If you want something a little bit more unique, you can go to sites like Pixabay and the next one that I'll talk about to look for some images. And what I did is I went into Pixabay and I just typed the word in trees. And if you notice on the right-hand side, there's this drop-down menu. You can actually find illustrations of trees, photos, graphics, but there's also a video component here. So what that'll allow us to do is, it could, as you're talking, if you wanted to cut in a new piece of video, or you want to have a piece of video that you could put just some words or talking or text over, this could be a really good resource for you. And when you type in trees and you do a video search, you'll find this information here, and you'll notice a couple things. These are all HD. Most of them are short, but you can find longer videos. This is just a screenshot that I grabbed, and there was pages of these. So depending on the climate, where you're located, the type of style of video you would like to make, you're able to kind of scroll over. And in a live setting, if you scroll over each one of these videos, they actually start moving and show you what that video would look like. They don't have any sound. This is just straight video clips that you can use to kind of doctor up or jazz up your content. And I've seen businesses actually use these successfully without having to videotape anything of their own. They go and they'll grab one of these videos and maybe have a content piece about the location, or a content piece about clean water, or that they're manufacturing their products in a clean environment, and they could use some of these video elements for that. Pixabay also has pictures, but I really love using them strictly for their videos. These are shot by videographers around the country and uploaded here rights free for you to use, and that you don't have to make a mention of the person or the information where you got it. These are completely rights free. The way that Pixabay makes money is that they're connected to, I believe it's iStock or some of these other websites that actually have paid for content, and maybe the first 2 or 3 items that you see in a search would be paid content, and then the rest is free content. Unsplash is one of my favorite websites on the web for content. This is a crowdsourced global photography repository. So people from all over the world are uploading incredible high-res photos here. It's just absolutely gorgeous pictures, and you can take a search. I did trees on here as well, and you'll notice that if I wanted to grab a photo and use this in a video that I was shooting, you'll see that this allows you to see, you're able to do that. You can go and grab you can get very specific. Now, it's not as, like one of the interesting things about Pixabay or an iStock photo, somebody out there is thinking, what does a business owner need? And they may shoot 100 pictures of people in a coffee meeting, as an example. Unsplash may not have that exact search. However, the pictures by and large are stunning, and you can kind of be selective about what you're doing because there's so many on here. So I hope you find this this website useful. And then there's a handful of music tracks built into iMovie on the iPhone that you'll see even in commercials kind of used over and over and over again. And one of the things that I would suggest to you, if you want to have your videos stand out a bit, is to go find some other music to use. We can't use, if we're going to be posting videos on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, Pinterest, we can't use music that has rights attached to it. So anything written by songwriters, anything put out to the world, you all know what I'm talking about already. So basically, we can't just grab a song off the radio and use it in our video unless we're doing some internal training or something like that. And even then, it's questionable. So you want to kind of use music outside of that. YouTube has a audio library that they will give you this music for free, and you can search for genres. You can search for the type of type of mood you're looking for, as well as instrumentation. So you can get really specific. And I've found, like I've got friends that have subscriptions to some music sites, and it's not a whole lot better. The paid sites are not, they're not offering a whole lot more, a whole lot better than the YouTube audio library. YouTube wants to encourage you to make videos, so they're giving you the tools that you can use, and one of those tools is music. So this is a way for you to get music, background music, and music beds for your videos, again, for free. And you'll notice, you've heard me talk long enough now, I'm kind of a bootstrap kind of person. I don't always have big budgets, or my clients don't always have big budgets for things. So I try to help them figure out how they can get things done without having to spend a lot of money. And this is one unique way to do that when it comes to music. So take advantage of that audio library on YouTube. All right, let's actually talk about apps and kind of dive into the types of videos that you can make and the handful of apps that are available. And one of the things that I wanted to mention as well, the iPhone and the iPad are continuing to evolve. And it's actually easier for me to use iMovie on my iPhone than it is to use iMovie on my Mac. There are times that I'm trying to edit a video on my Mac. I'll actually send it to my iPhone because it's easier. I know it sounds counterintuitive and maybe a little nutty, but the fact that there's been so much evolution in these tools that if I just want to do something quick, a little voiceover, a little bit of music in the background, maybe a logo, and a couple transitions, iMovie on my iPhone, it's fantastic for that. And it's free. When you buy an iPhone, it comes loaded on your iPhone. I had somebody say to me, why is this not iPhone and Android? You know, your audience might be bigger. And while that's true, the tools are a little bit different for each platform. So specifically for iPhones, they've made it super easy to create these videos. So let me walk you through some creation tips for iMovie. First of all, this is what it looks like on your phone. You'll see that the iMovie icon, it's been updated a few times. And when you click that icon, this first screen on the left is what would open for you. And these are some movies that I've created. Some were for friends, some were for clients, some were just tests. If you click this plus button, the middle screen opens up and it asks you, do you want to create a movie or do you want to create a movie trailer? I never click the trailer unless it's maybe that could work for maybe a graduation party or a conference or something that might be interesting to have kind of the way that a trailer rolls out. It might be fun to kind of have that in there. But for the context of what we're talking about, you would just simply select movie. And then the next screen comes up and it gives you the option of where are you going to get your content. So it's going to ask you, do you want to load videos in here or do you want to load photos? Do you have a specific album that you want to open up? And Moments is just kind of it's a holding spot for if you go take a bunch of pictures, they'll be in Moments for a minute. I typically just click on videos or photos so that I can load them myself. After you select that, on the left, you'll notice because I selected photos, this gives me an option where I'm going to grab these pictures from. And I typically will go and favorite the content pieces that I like so that they're already available to me when I open these apps under favorites. It's just easier for me to find them. So I would go and favorite a handful of those, whatever those images or videos that I selected. And then when I open this up, they'll be in my favorites. The next section is your favorites, and then you can go and select these. And just for the context of what we're doing today, a friend of mine gave me some tomato plants. Now, I've never grown tomatoes in my life. Like, I'm not really a green thumb kind of gardening person. I was over at their house actually giving them some advice on a video project that they were running for a product that they make. And my friend Lisa had a bunch of tomato plant starts that she was putting together, and I just made some comment about them. And I got this text that said, some tomatoes are on your porch a couple of weeks later. And I thought, wow, those grew fast. When I opened the door, there was just a box that had some starts of, or a little crate that had some starts of tomatoes. So after calling my mother and my sister-in-law and everybody else to try to help me figure out what to do with them, I actually have some tomato plants that are growing on my deck right now. So I'm going to show you kind of what it was. So I've got some kind of before, during, and after those videos. The after is just plants right now. There's no tomatoes yet. So I went in the favorites and I selected those, and then I pushed create movie at the bottom. And then what happens is each one of these pictures will come in the screen at the bottom of the phone, and I turned it sideways, so it made it a little bit easier to edit. And then these wheels and like the add button is pretty self-explanatory, and the wheel on the right, the gear on the right will give you some other options. So I just added some plant pictures, and what it did is it put those in a timeline, in a sequence in a timeline, and it automatically added transitions from one picture to the next. And it also added some movement. So the picture moves from the top right to the bottom left, and the transition is nice and smooth, kind of blurs from one to the next thing to show you that. And then simply by tapping on each one of these images, I can, with my finger, I can shorten the video, that video segment. I can make it longer. I can split it to add something else. There's, you can have different filters for color. The whole suite of editing of videos built into this program. And then I just added the Milo Coffee House logo just to kind of show you, simply throwing a logo in at the beginning of this video all of a sudden gives the kind of the establishing shot we talked about. It gives you a little branding so it feels professional, and you can put that at the end with a phone number if you'd like. You can also add text to these videos as well. So, and then I'm going to kind of show you what this looks like, I hope. There it goes. So you can't hear any music. There isn't any, but you'll notice that I didn't have to add the movement. I didn't have to add these transitions. All this stuff was built into the app. All I did was select the pictures and put them in the app and let the app do the work for me. I've replanted those, by the way. Those aren't big enough. So this just kind of gives you an idea that if I'm in my local business, or my business that is even doesn't have to be local, I can put together a pseudo-professional video just by using this app, taking a handful of pictures, and it adds the transitions and the movement all for me. I didn't have to do any of the work for that. And that's really where the editing comes in, that a professional would do, is to kind of make these, make it look differently, or make it transition from one thing to the next. That's where it feels professional, simply because the transitions are there. There's a logo at the beginning, and it kind of, it basically tells a story of this scenario. So this is just, again, an example. I want to get as kind of as crude as possible, so you could see that just with a little bit of planning, you could create something special for your business, for your organization. If there's questions on iMovie, I'm happy to answer those, and I'll happily answer questions via email as well after the call. I wanted to give you some more context and a couple of extra apps to use that can really add some flair to this. So Magisto is an app that I pay about $6 a month for. And what Magisto is great for is if you have an outing, or a dinner, a ribbon cutting, a celebration, if you've got a bunch of products that you're coming out with, if it's time for, Wanda had mentioned veggies, like the veggies have grown and they're sprouting, and you want to kind of show everybody what you'll be bringing to the farmers market, and you want to do a bunch of them. This is a pretty cool way to go about doing that. That adds a little bit more flair to it. So you would open this app, again, the screen on the right, make a new video, start with the template. You just click the make a new video, and you'll notice, again, it's very similar to iMovie in you can kind of select which photos you want to use. And then so the first screen is just some photos that I have on my iPhone. Then the second screen is just selecting these pictures. And the third screen on the right is I actually can select music that is rights free within the app. So then I can go add a title, and the title is Growing Tomatoes, and then I can actually set that link. One thing you didn't see is there's an editing style as well. So they have a bunch of different kind of editing styles that you can select from documentary to party to comic book to just a bunch of these kind of different styles. And one thing that I've seen this app do really, really amazing is the transitions between the shots are not like I can use Premiere Pro, and I've talked to students that have had experience in going through classes. The app is actually incredibly good at developing something that looks professional. So you can set the movie length as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this one as well. And I don't think you can hear the music, but there's a music track to this. And there's no way that I would be able to take the amount of time that it would take to do something professionally edited like this, or that looked kind of unique like this. And that's all built in with the app. So again, on an iPhone, using an app, throwing a bunch of photos together, selecting the theme and selecting some music, you can produce something that looks really unique and fun, that also could be really helpful for your audience. If there's questions on Magisto, I'm available to answer those as well. That is, I had a golf outing. One of my clients was a member or sponsor of one of the holes in a golf outing, and they took this app and actually added about 20 pictures in the app, and they created a video for after at the golf outing and sent it to the sponsor, who ended up posting it on their social media and thanked them and said, "Wow, you made this video so quickly. We can't believe how great it is." It's like they just simply used the app and threw a bunch of pictures together. It took them literally minutes to build that, but it was a really nice way for them to have some good content and a good reminder of the event. So there's other apps as well. HypeType is one of my favorites for short form video of just an image. You can take a picture and turn it into maybe a 10-second video. Okay, so you open the HypeType app, you add a photo, and then you can pick the type of text that you want to lay over that photo. And you can also add a quick segment of music as well, and some kind of jazz up the text a little bit. Here's an example of that. So you'll see that tomato growing tips shows up when the app is selected. Let's watch that one more time. So there's lots of different ways that that text could show up. There's probably 20 different treatments for the text. If you want to pay something, you can actually add more. I've got the paid version, so I take the HypeType watermark off to create this. And this is really great for Instagram stories or Facebook stories if you're using those at all. But it's also kind of nice every once in a while to have something that you normally would have posted or would have used as a photo to actually create that as a video. Videos on Facebook and Instagram tend to do a little better than just a simple photo. So this is a way to get your content out there in a little bit more professional way that'll be viewed by more people. So HypeType is a great app for that. And there's probably hundreds of these apps. These are the ones that I've found that are the easiest to use and have the most value for the money. Okay, so we've got about 10 more minutes. I'm going to give you some more kind of conceptual stuff on getting going, and then I wanted to open it up for specific questions. And Hal, if you want to let me know if anyone writes something in, I'll be happy to jump on that. And then I'll send the presentation to Hal so he has it. He can forward it to the people that are on the call. And I will be available if you do have specific questions. I'm happy to answer after the fact. If you want to email me, it's fine. So when you're creating something, I would highly recommend kind of writing out the concept. Even if you're good on the fly, kind of describing something, let's at least get something written out, like what's the goal with your video, your particular video. So write out the idea, And then the other thing is I would suggest that you gather all of that content ahead of time. So you already know this is what I want to type here. These are the pictures I want to use. Here are the video clips. And I probably didn't make that as clear, but you can also add video clips to Magisto and iMovie to kind of make those even stand out more. So between the pictures of the buckets of the tomatoes, as an example, I could have been saying, hey, thanks, Lisa, for dropping these off. This is what we're doing so far. That kind of stuff to kind of make that video stand out a little bit. So just make sure you're gathering your content all ahead of time so that you're ready for that. And then as you build them and then put them out to the world, the one of the greatest things about social media or digital marketing today is that we were never really sure how the pamphlet was doing, or how the billboard did, or how the radio commercial did, or how the television ad did. We could kind of make some determinations based on foot traffic. When it comes to video, we're able to track everything. So Facebook will tell you that a video has been seen. It's a view if it's 3 seconds or more. Some of the other platforms like LinkedIn will count different. Has to be more than 3 for LinkedIn. I think it's 7 seconds they count as a video view. But again, you can deep dive in the analytics, and they'll tell you when people are dropping off, or what browsers they're using, or what part of the world they're in that are viewing your videos. There's so much data that we can collect now that we never were able to do before, never were able to do better targeting. So as we build these, and then we test them, and then we just want to repeat what's working. So that's kind of the overview of how to use your iPhone in a way that you can you're all of a sudden a video creator now. I would love to see us try to implement some of these techniques and see what we can come up with. But again, the beauty is our audience will tell us what's working and what isn't. And Hal, I'm happy to put up the final slide here and take any further questions if there is any.
Okay, that's good. We don't have any questions so far, but we'll
Okay.
take a moment or two and see if there's any more.
Okay.
If there's any.
So, and I'm assuming that that your group probably has access to students with with gear to help create some videos for the center.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. We're not located on campus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're in the middle of the state, so I'm not sure that is something we have access to.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a couple of comments. Does iMovie add audio too, Jason?
Yes. What you would do in that setting is you would record. You can record a video. You can also record a voiceover, and then add the voiceover to that video. So you would maybe record your video, and you could watch the video, and then you could do use one of the apps on your phone to do an audio recording, and then you would add that audio recording to that video. But yes, you can do that for sure.
So is it very easy to do? Pretty easy to do that?
Yeah, it's not challenging. It's another piece of content. You kind of have to match it up. If I was going to have audio with, and I was going to use iMovie, what I would probably do is shoot that in. Can the person that asked the question give me just a little bit more context? Maybe I can help them specifically. But what I would suggest doing is shoot a main video talking, like a main video talking about what you want to talk about, and then layer on top of that other pictures and images, so that you have kind of the main video with pictures and images to highlight or enhance that video. It's almost like stacking your content on top of each other.
Yeah, haven't had another response on that.
Okay.
So maybe you've answered the question adequately.
Okay, great.
Any other questions or comments for Jason? Okay, well, thank you, Jason, for sharing this important information with us, and we hope everyone will join us next month when we'll learn about legal aspects of social media. And so okay, I do see another comment here. So Pam made a quick video of bee swarms that she's dealt with while she was listening to you talk. Can you talk over the video while you rewatch the video?
I believe that she could add that video to iMovie, record a specific record another conversation with that. I know that Magisto allows that, and I believe that iMovie. That's a great question. If you want to pass along your info afterwards or email me, I'll research to make sure that that's possible. I'm sure we could figure out a way to do that.
Okay.
With iMovie.
And she mentions that she's trying to sync both up. So
yeah, that becomes a little bit of a challenge to do that. But what iMovie allows you to do is use the clipping tool. There's a pair of scissors where you can stop. You can clip one clip, and then that might make it a little bit easier to sync up. She gets the award for taking action.
Yeah.
that's incredible.
And multitasking too.
Gosh.
So that was really
great job.
Good. Yeah. Well, Pam, if you want to email me, and we'll get the information to Jason. My email is hal.pepper, PEPPER, @utk.edu. I've got one more question. Can you use this app with an Android phone, Jason?
So iMovie is not available on Android. However, Magisto is available, and there are other apps that you can use that allow you to do very similar things. Splice is one of them, SPLICE. And let me look at one more for you to test. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that the reason that I just specified iPhone is that there are so many tools out there. It's almost like you get good with one, and it just makes things a lot easier. And iMovie is so ubiquitous; it's just built right in when you buy the phone. You don't have to even pay a subscription for it or anything. But you can use Splice, and then there's Adobe Clip, CLIP. And those two allow you to do very, very similar videos as what we've been talking about today.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate all of you for being with us. We ask once again if you'll complete the brief online evaluation at https://tiny.utk.edu/webinar eval. So got another comment here that said they can't wait to try some of this, Jason. So this was an awesome presentation today.
Good.
Got another question from Peter. Is a SMELFIE device helpful? Smelfie device.
I have no idea what that is.
Maybe it's selfie device.
Oh, like a selfie stick?
I would assume so. I think we just got an extra letter in there.
Yeah. So, so a couple things can help. Uh, I've got a couple
Oh,
different try.
okay. So he said a Smelfie device actually smooths out selfies.
Okay, so there are there are kind of devices that you can attach to a handle of some sort that are almost like a um, it almost feels a little bit more cinematic when you kind of come in on an item or um, tighten up on a shot that kind of smooth out the imperfections in a held phone. Most newer phones, anything that you've bought in the last couple of years, is probably going to have good stabilization. So they're not as important as they were. If you want to make something a little more cinematic, one of my clients wanted something a little more cinematic. I ended up pushing a guy in an office chair as he was closing up on a shot to try something like that. That was kind of a fun afternoon. But some of those gyroscope based handheld devices can be interesting for the cinematic aspect, but most businesses aren't even doing a great job at just producing enough video content that I would hate for you to get paralyzed in. It just doesn't quite look the way that I want it to look. Does that help? Like, again, I'm all about blocking and tackling, getting good content out there, testing to see what works and what resonates with your audience. And if you overthink it, you're not gonna produce it. You're not gonna do it.
Okay. You responded. That was real helpful. So
Good,
cool.
excellent.
Yeah.
And I'll again, Hal, when I give you this presentation, I'll add a couple links for. There's a really good handheld. Basically, I've got a tripod that's got an attachment for a phone. That's really helpful, and I swap that between a big iPod and also or a big tripod and also something that I can hold in my hand. That's a little bit more. Just it's a little bit more ergonomic than just holding the phone as you're shooting.
Great. Great. I tell you, this is the first time I think that I've been a part of a webinar where we've had so many questions that people just keep asking them. So this is really great. You've had really good connection with these folks today.
Good.
We're going to plan to post this on our website and the slides, but it's going to be a couple of weeks before we can do that. And that's my fault because I'm fixing to catch a plane here in just a little bit, and I'll be gone a couple of weeks. But when I get back, we will get this posted to our website, and the presentation slides will be there as well. And
Hal, if they want to send me an email directly, I'm happy to send them the presentation. I'd be happy to do that.
good. That's awesome. Your email address is Jason with a 1 ELKINS at gmail.com. That's Jason1Elkins at gmail.com.
That's it.
All right. Okay.
Thanks everybody for your time. Hopefully this helps, and I'll be happy to look at what you're producing. Go do it. Let's get it done.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was fantastic, Jason. Thank you so much.